President Trump's immigration crackdown. A federal appeals court says he unlawfully invoked the Alien Enemies Act to quickly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the administration cannot move forward with using the centuries-old wartime law for deportations in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi.
Federal judge just dropped bombshell that could put Trump officials in prison, and what he revealed is absolutely devastating. Judge James Boasberg sitting in Washington, D.C. federal court, Trump administration lawyers at defense table, and judge issuing finding nobody saw coming. Quote, probable cause exists to hold Trump administration in criminal contempt of court, unquote. That's criminal contempt. Not civil, criminal, meaning prosecution, meaning jail time, meaning Trump officials could be arrested for defying federal court order. This is Chief Judge of D.C. District Court saying Trump regime willfully disobeyed his direct order to turn around deportation planes. And he's not backing down. He's threatening to refer this for criminal prosecution, to appoint independent prosecutor if DOJ won't do it, to hold Trump officials accountable for treating federal court like it doesn't matter. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Patrick Smith Show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe, because you might think you are, but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. Alright, let's get into what actually happened, because this contempt finding is explosive. Judge Boasberg had Saturday hearing, emergency case about Trump using Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador. And during that hearing, Boasberg gave explicit order. Turn around any planes already in air. Bring them back to United States. Give people due process. That was direct order from federal judge. Legally binding. Must be obeyed. Share this video with everyone you know, because Trump officials completely ignored it. Kept planes flying. Delivered deportees to El Salvador anyway. And hours later, El Salvador President Nayib Bukele posting on social media, quote, oopsie, too late, unquote, mocking American federal judge, celebrating that Trump administration defied court order. That's foreign leader laughing at American judicial system because Trump regime showed them they don't have to respect it. Think about what that means. Federal judge gives direct order. Trump administration ignores it. Foreign dictator mocks it publicly. And now judge saying that's criminal contempt. That's willful disobedience. That Constitution doesn't tolerate this. Quote, Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of coordinate branch who have sworn oath to uphold it, unquote. That's judge saying Trump officials violated their constitutional oath. Boasberg wrote 46-page opinion laying out case, said he didn't reach this conclusion lightly, that he gave defendants ample opportunity to explain their actions, to rectify what happened, to show they tried to comply, and quote, none of their responses has been satisfactory, unquote. Every excuse Trump regime gave was rejected. Every justification was inadequate. Judge found willful defiance that amounts to criminal contempt. Make sure you're subscribed to Patrick Smith Show, because here's what makes this so serious. Boasberg is giving Trump administration chance to purge the contempt, to take steps to remedy what they did, to identify who made decision to defy court order. And if they don't do that by deadline he set, he's proceeding to next step, contempt hearings, identifying specific individuals in contempt, and referring matter for prosecution. That prosecution part is crucial, because criminal contempt requires prosecutor. Usually that's Department of Justice. But DOJ under Trump isn't going to prosecute Trump officials for obeying Trump. So here's what law allows. Judge can request DOJ prosecute, and if DOJ declines, judge must appoint independent attorney to prosecute the contempt. That's in federal rules of criminal procedure. Judge has authority to bypass Trump's DOJ completely and appoint someone who will actually hold officials accountable. Share this with everyone, because Trump administration's defense is absurd. They're claiming Supreme Court later overturned Boasberg's orders, so contempt proceeding is moot. That because higher court said Boasberg's venue was wrong. That means they didn't have to obey order when it was issued. That's not how law works. You don't get to ignore court order and then claim it's okay because order was later overturned. Contempt is about whether you obeyed order at time it was given, and Trump officials didn't. think about what Trump regime is arguing. They're saying federal court orders are optional, that executive branch can decide which orders to follow and which to ignore. That if they think order might be overturned later, they don't have to comply now. That's authoritarian logic. That's what dictatorships do. Ignore courts, defy judicial authority, make rule of law meaningless. And there's more. Whistleblower came forward. Someone inside Department of Justice, said Emil Bove, who was number 3 at DOJ at time, told government lawyers to be prepared to defy court orders, to tell judges basically to go screw themselves, that they might need to just ignore whatever courts say about Alien Enemies Act deportations. That's DOJ official instructing lawyers to violate their ethical obligations and defy federal judges. And that whistleblower allegation is devastating. It shows this wasn't accident, wasn't miscommunication, wasn't planes already over international waters before order came down, like Trump claims. This was deliberate strategy, planned to defy courts, to show judicial branch has no power over executive, to establish precedent that Trump can ignore any judge who rules against him. And here's what's truly insane. Trump called for Boasberg's impeachment over this. President of United States demanding federal judge be removed for ruling against administration. That's direct attack on judicial independence, on separation of powers, on constitutional structure. And it got so bad that Chief Justice John Roberts issued rare public statement, said impeachment, quote, is not appropriate response to disagreement concerning judicial decision, unquote. Chief Justice having to defend federal judge from president's attacks. Then DOJ filed misconduct complaint against Boasberg, accused him of making improper public comments about Trump administration, of undermining integrity of judiciary, of having no basis for suggesting Trump might defy court orders. Except Boasberg was right. Trump did defy his orders. Whistleblower confirmed officials planned to defy orders. Everything Boasberg warned about happened exactly as he said. Think about what that means. Trump regime defies Boasberg's order, then attacks him for predicting they would defy orders, then files ethics complaint against him for being right. That's retaliation, that's intimidation, that's trying to punish judge for holding Trump accountable, and it gets worse. After Boasberg found probable cause for criminal contempt and set hearings, Trump-appointed judges on D.C. Circuit intervened. Gregory Katsas and Naomi Rao, both appointed by Trump. They issued administrative stay blocking contempt proceedings. Said Boasberg has to wait while they consider whether he even has authority to investigate contempt, whether he has to refer it to DOJ immediately instead of investigating first. That administrative stay lasted over 3 months. Normally, these stays last hours or days, just long enough for court to review emergency motion. But Katsas and Rao kept it in place for months, and timing was convenient, because during those months, Senate Republicans confirmed Emil Bove to be federal judge, guy who whistleblower said told lawyers to defy courts, got confirmed as judge himself without any judicial record of his possible contempt. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse called this out explicitly, wrote letters saying the extraordinarily long stay raises alarming questions about whether it was imposed to protect Bove during confirmation, that these Trump judges were running interference for Trump official who might be held in contempt. And then after Bove was confirmed, full D.C. Circuit reversed the stay. Let Boasberg proceed. But by then, Bove was safely on bench. Third judge on that panel, Cornelia Pillard, dissented, Obama appointee. She wrote that Boasberg showed, quote, skill and wisdom, unquote, handling this case. That even when faced with what reasonably appeared to be foot-dragging, evasion, and outright disregard for his jurisdiction and orders, he responded with unfailing composure. That majority does, quote, exemplary judge grave disservice by overstepping bounds to upend his effort to vindicate judicial authority, unquote. Think about what that means. One judge praising Boasberg for patience and composure in face of Trump's defiance. 2 Trump judges blocking him from holding Trump officials accountable. And then after blocking him long enough to protect Trump officials' confirmation, they let contempt proceeding continue. That's not justice. That's corruption. That's judges acting as Trump's defenders instead of impartial arbiters. And Trump regime's attacks on Boasberg haven't stopped. Last week, Senator Ted Cruz held hearing calling for his impeachment. amplified allegations from DOJ complaint, tried to make case that Boasberg is partisan hack abusing power, except Boasberg was appointed by Obama but originally put on D.C. Superior Court by George W. Bush. He's presided over major cases for years without controversy, and only reason he's under attack now is because he won't let Trump ignore court orders. Now, Republicans in Congress coordinating with Trump to egg on threats against federal judge. White House said, quote, "There was time when I'd have hoped Senate Judiciary Committee would not be roped into scheme to amplify pressure and threats against sitting federal judge, but here we are," unquote. That's Senator saying his own colleagues are threatening judges to protect Trump. This contempt case is still active. Boasberg can still proceed with hearings, can still identify individuals in contempt, can still appoint independent prosecutor if DOJ declines. And Trump officials are terrified, because if they're found in criminal contempt, that's criminal record. That's potential jail time. That's precedent that executive branch officials can be held accountable for defying courts. Think about what happens if Boasberg actually follows through, holds hearings, identifies who gave order to defy court, who kept planes flying despite judges' order to turn them around, who decided American judicial system doesn't apply to them, and then refers those people for prosecution. Independent prosecutor who isn't controlled by Trump, who will actually pursue contempt charges. That's nightmare scenario for Trump regime. Because contempt prosecution doesn't require proving complex conspiracy, doesn't require documents Trump can hide or witnesses he can intimidate, just requires showing court gave order and person willfully disobeyed it. Flight records show planes kept flying. Bukil's social media shows they reached El Salvador. Whistleblower testimony shows officials planned to defy orders. Case is straightforward. And here's what makes it even more dangerous for Trump. This isn't isolated incident, this is pattern. Boasberg isn't only judge Trump administration has defied. There's Judge Paula Sinis in Maryland, ordered Trump to bring back Kilmar Abrigo Garcia, who was wrongly deported. Trump refused. Claimed they can't make El Salvador return him even though Supreme Court ruled they have to try. Sinis threatening contempt proceedings too. There's entire Maryland District Court. Trump DOJ sued every single judge on that court. Unprecedented lawsuit, all because they imposed temporary freeze on deportations to ensure due process. Trump regime claiming judges have no authority to stop deportations. That executive has total control over immigration regardless of what courts say. And this is constitutional crisis, not theoretical, actual. President defying court orders, attacking judges, filing ethics complaints against them, calling for impeachment, coordinating with Congress to threaten them, appointing judges who will protect his officials from contempt. And underlying all of it is argument that executive branch doesn't have to obey judicial branch. That's what authoritarians do. That's playbook from Hungary and Poland and Turkey and Russia. When courts try to check executive power, you attack courts. Undermine their legitimacy, make them political. Defy their orders. Install loyalists who will protect you. And eventually courts become irrelevant. Democracy dies. Autocracy wins. Think about what that means. Boasberg's contempt case isn't just about deportation flights. It's about whether American constitutional system survives, whether courts can enforce their orders against president, whether separation of powers means anything, whether rule of law applies to executive branch. And Boasberg is fighting for all of that, standing up to Trump's attacks, proceeding with contempt inquiry despite threats, refusing to let president's intimidation work. And timing matters. This comes as Trump facing multiple other legal crises. Judge William Young in Boston just ruled Trump administration engaged in unconstitutional conspiracy to violate First Amendment rights of pro-Palestinian students, blocked them from being deported. Said Trump officials, including Marco Rubio and Kristi Noem, conspired to infringe constitutional rights. Called it breathtaking. Called Trump authoritarian. Young's remedial order came after hours-long hearing where he dressed down top Trump officials. Said he found it breathtaking that he's been compelled on evidence to find conduct of such high-level officers conspired to infringe First Amendment. That's another federal judge saying Trump regime is violating Constitution, is conspiring to suppress rights, is acting like authoritarian government. Share this video because these cases are connecting. Boasberg finding criminal contempt for defying courts. Young finding unconstitutional conspiracy to suppress speech. Sheena's threatening contempt for refusing to return wrongly deported person. Pattern emerging. Multiple judges, multiple cases, all finding Trump administration violating law, defying courts, acting unconstitutionally, and all facing Trump's retaliation for it. That retaliation shows Trump knows he's losing, knows courts are catching up to him, knows accountability is coming. So he's attacking judges, calling for impeachment, filing ethics complaints, using DOJ to harass them, appointing loyalist judges to protect him, getting Congress to threaten them. Everything he can do to stop judicial branch from holding him accountable. But it's not working. Judges keep ruling against him, keep finding violations, keep threatening contempt, keep appointing independent monitors and prosecutors, keep saying Constitution matters more than Trump's power. And that's driving Trump insane, making him more desperate, making attacks more extreme, which proves judges are right, proves Trump is authoritarian who can't accept limits on his power. Bottom line is this: Judge Boasberg found probable cause that Trump administration committed criminal contempt by defying his order to turn around deportation planes. Said administration showed willful disobedience of court order. That Constitution doesn't tolerate this, especially from officials who swore oath to uphold it. Gave Trump regime deadline to purge contempt or face hearings and prosecution referral. Trump officials argued Supreme Court overturning Boasberg's orders makes contempt moot, that they don't have to obey orders that might be reversed later. Boasberg rejected that, said contempt is about compliance when order was given, not whether order was eventually overturned, that you can't willfully disobey and then claim it's fine because you were eventually vindicated. Whistleblower revealed DOJ official Emil Bove told lawyers to prepare to defy court orders, to tell judges basically screw you, shows defiance was planned, was deliberate strategy to ignore judicial branch. Bove later confirmed as federal judge himself after Trump appointed judges blocked contempt inquiry long enough to protect him during confirmation. Trump called for Boasberg's impeachment. DOJ filed ethics complaint against him. Ted Cruz held hearing to amplify attacks, all trying to intimidate judge into backing down. But Boasberg proceeding anyway. Can appoint independent prosecutor if DOJ won't pursue contempt. Can hold Trump officials criminally accountable for treating courts like they don't matter. This fits pattern. Multiple judges finding Trump violating Constitution, defying orders, engaging in conspiracies, and all facing Trump's retaliation, all being attacked and threatened for doing their jobs. Shows Trump losing in courts, accountability approaching, and getting more desperate to stop it. But judges aren't backing down, are standing up for rule of law, for separation of powers, for Constitution, and that terrifies Trump more than anything. This story continues. Stay tuned.